Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott, and you, my dear little friend, have wandered onto the #1 prog rock channel on all of YouTube. Yeah, it's the Prog Corner. Yeah, according to me, and that's the only opinion that counts around here, that's for sure. But today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I've touched on, my brushes with greatness and, how I've dealt with a lot of different stars over the years. And, since I've started the Prog Corner, I'm dealing with, the prog stars. But I'm going to be talking about back in the day when I worked in retail. I worked at a record store all the way through the 80s. And then I decided I was tired of being broke all the time. So I got recruited to go work for Foot Locker, which I actually met so many stars at Foot Locker. I worked at Dadeland Mall, Aventura Mall, South Beach, Westlake Mall, and Hialeah, and 163rd Street Mall, all the malls. And it would seem that all the stars have a house in Miami or something, because I dealt with a lot of stars, and some of them were just outstanding, man. Really cool, really nice. I've talked a little bit about a couple of my encounters here lately. I talked about how I met Michael Jackson in the episode, The Worst Album of All Time. And then I talked recently about meeting U2, meeting Bono and The Edge, and Larry and, Adam. But, I'm going to be talking about 4 stars that were really nasty and 4 that were really nice. And, if you want to hear a story, this has only been shared to my members. My date with LaToya Jackson back in 1986. Parenthetically, the last time your boy ever had a drop of alcohol, that's only available to my members. So if you want to hear that story, you're going to have to plunk down $1.99 a month to be a member of the Aficionado Club, or $4.99 to be in the connoisseur level. But hey, let's talk about some stars, man. Let's talk about some stars that are really nice and some that were actually not so nice at all. Starting out with the nasty list, man. Let's get this out of the way. The first one I want to talk about is Shaquille O'Neal, man. This guy had been in the league for about 2 years. He was with the Orlando Magic, and he shows up to my store, the Foot Locker in Bayside. He's with Nick Anderson, who was also part of the Orlando Magic at the time. And Shaq comes in, and, everybody's like, oh, there's a buzz in the room, man. Shaq's in the house. The guy's huge, right? And he looks around, and finally he's like looking at the hats. And I'm like, hey, Shaquille, could you sign? Because we had a Reebok promotion going on where there was a life-size thing of Shaq, and then one of his shoes, size 24 Reeboks. I thought it'd be cool if he signed it. And he's like, I know how you Foot Locker guys are. This is going to end up on eBay. And this was in the 90s. He's already thinking like that. And I'm like, dude, what do you want for it? And he's like, I'll give me a hat. I'm like, sure, man. Sign the shoe. I'll give you a hat. He looks at the hats, and he just like, I don't want anything. And he storms out. And on his way out the door, there was this little kid, man. He couldn't have been more than 10 years old. And he's like, Mr. O'Neal, can my daddy take a picture of me and you together? And he just looks at the kid, and he says, go away, kid. Actually, he said a curse word in there, which I'm not going to repeat. It was just the nastiest encounter I've ever seen between a star and a young fan. It was despicable. My assistant manager put it like this. I'm 19 years old. I'm 7'2". I'm 350 pounds. I'm world famous. I'm super rich, and I'm a jerk. Do something about it. Yeah, I didn't do anything. I just remembered, and now I'm reporting. A few years before that, I was working at the Aventura Mall at Foot Locker, and dude comes in with his boyfriend. Turns out it's Elton John, right? And he's buying a bunch of stuff, and get him to the cash wrap. I'm ringing him up. Gives me his American Express card, which is cool because it says Elton John. That's always fun. The card was declined, right? So he's screaming and yelling. He's like, call it in. You got to call it in. I'm like, okay. So I call it in. And I'm on the phone with American Express, and they're like, whatever you do, don't give the customer the phone. And Elton John rips the phone out of my hand. He starts screaming and yelling at American Express. His boyfriend ended up having to pay cash for the purchase. It was just a joke. It was sad. Come on, Elton John. You're better than that, man. Oh, another nasty one I had. This is back when I was working in the Dadeland Mall at World Foot Locker. It was probably 1997, 1998 here. And Jennifer Love Hewitt walks in, man, and she was looking good, and I was all excited. I'm a big fan. She takes one look at me, and she's like, get away from me. I'm like, Okay. I'm sorry, Miss Hewitt. I'm just here to try to help you out here. And she just shot me daggers the whole time she was in. Anytime anybody like got within 10 feet of her, she would start yelling and screaming. Nasty, nasty person, man. And what's funny is the very next day, J-Lo came in the store with Ben Affleck, and she was awesome. She was really cool. Not cool enough to make my nice list, but she was really nice. Yeah, so Jennifer Love Hewitt, not a fan. Where's the love? There was no love in you at all. Maybe you were just having a bad day, but don't treat people like that, Jennifer Love Hewitt. It's nasty. You're nasty. And finally, on my nasty list, this is fun. Okay, I'm working in the Aventura Mall. I'm at Record Bar at this point, so we're in the late 80s here, probably 87, 88 maybe. And Dan Marino comes in the store, and I'm busy doing something. I'm checking in a shipment or whatever, and one of my employees is ringing him up, and there's a problem because I hear screaming from the front of the store. Dan Marino's having a little conniption fit, so I go up there and find out what's going on. Apparently, Dan Marino was trying to write a check, but it was one of those starter checks, right? When you first get a bank account, right? And it's got no info on the top. We don't take those checks, right? We don't take starter checks. We never have, but it was Dan Marino, and he's screaming and yelling, and just, he's going apoplectic, man. Smoke's coming out his ears. He's chewing tobacco. He's spitting this nasty stuff all over my floor, man. It took me like an hour to clean up all his chew. It was disgusting. I told him, hey, man, yeah, I know who you are. We'll take your check. But that wasn't good enough for him. He was spitting tobacco out all over my floor, all the way out the door. You're not a good person, Dan Marino. Don't treat people like that. You're a joke. Go away. You never won a Super Bowl for a reason because you suck. And now we get into the nice list, man. This won't be quite as much fun. But the first one on my list is Whitney Houston. And I met her twice. Both at the Aventura Mall, both at Foot Locker. And it was like many years apart. The first time I met her was like 1988. I think her second album had been out for a little while. So she was a star, but she didn't have that whole entourage. It was just her, all by her little lonesome. She's wearing a big old hat so nobody could recognize her, and big oversized sunglasses. Turns out she wears a size 9. She wanted a pair of Adidas Stan Smith, so I got to touch Whitney Houston's feet. How cool is that? She was really sweet, really awesome. Fast forward to 2001. And I meet her a second time. This time she comes in the store with Bobby Brown. It's Christmas time. She's whacked out of her head. You could tell, woohoo, something's wrong. They're playing Christmas music. So all of a sudden, Whitney Houston jumps up on my cash wrap, starts singing along. And word spreads like wildfire, even in the days before cell phones. Word spread throughout the mall that Whitney Houston was in Foot Locker and singing songs. Before I knew it, I had like 200-300 people in the store. And Bobby Brown had just found a corner to sit, and he's just like shaking his head. He's like, oh my God. So I sit down next to him. I'm like, is this a normal occurrence for you, Bobby? And he's like, you have no idea, bro. So if you think that Bobby Brown brought Whitney Houston down, I contend it's the other way around, man. Absolutely. Bobby Brown was stone cold sober, and Whitney Houston was not. Next up on my list, yeah, we're going to be talking about Michael Jordan. Oh, yeah, I met him in Coconut Grove at the Mayfair Mall. I was helping out that day. I'm glad I was working at that store that day because Mike came in, and all of a sudden, all these kids, word spread throughout the neighborhood. Michael Jordan is in the house. So all of a sudden there's like 40 or 50 kids, and he can't get rid of them, man. He can't shake them. I almost feel bad for him. He couldn't buy anything. So he comes to me and he's like, do you have a back door? And I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. And he's like, hey, write down my credit card number and ring up anything you want for these kids. But I just got to get away from him. So I did that. It was old school, right? So I had the old, credit card machine. So I took an impression of his credit card. And as he went out the door, he's like, tell those kids they can buy whatever they want. So I came back out, and they're like, oh, where's Mike? Where's Mike? And I'm like, hey, Michael said you could buy anything you want. All of a sudden, they didn't care so much that Michael Jordan had left them. They were just happy that, he was fitting the bill, and I think it came to like a $20,000 or $22,000 sale. I fully expect Michael to challenge that. He did not. He paid it, so that was pretty awesome. Next up, I'm going to be talking about Snoop Dogg, man. Yeah, I was walking in the Aventura Mall one day, working at Foot Locker. I think I was on my way to the food court or something, trying to get a little lunch going. And I'm, this is right when cell phones were starting to come up, so I had a new phone, and I'm like programming stuff, and I'm looking down, like people look down, and I'm looking down. Next thing I know, I bump into this guy, man, and he's really tall, he's black, he's cool looking, and I look, oh, it's Snoop Dogg, man. He sees him. I'm working at Foot Locker, so I got the uniform on, that referee uniform, the black and white polyester shirt, and he's like, hey, man, you guys got any authentic football jerseys? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Follow me. So I decided I'd just turn around and lead him to the store. He ended up buying like 25 or 30 different jerseys, but he was cool, man. He talked nonstop about the business, about his career, about his life. Very cool guy, man. I can understand why Snoop Dogg is so popular. He is just a real cool guy. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about a guy that I met at the Bayside Mall. It was the summertime. I think it was like a Saturday morning, and we had all the cruise ship customers. We used to get a big surge right before all the cruise ships would take off because Bayside's right by the port of Miami. And this dude walks in, he's cracking jokes, and it's Jerry Lewis, man. It's Jerry Lewis, and I'm a big fan. I thought he was amazing his whole life, and we sat down and we were talking about, he had just been on a TV show called Wise Guys on CBS, and I'm like, dude, man, your performance on Wise Guys was probably the best thing I've ever seen. He was so happy, man. He shook my hand, and he's like, hey, can I have a Foot Locker uniform? I'm like, what for, Jerry? He's like, I want to work here. So I got him a Foot Locker shirt. He had black pants on, so it worked. I made him a little name tag that said Jerry. And for the next hour and a half, Jerry Lewis proceeded to freak out every single one of my customers. All that crazy Jerry Lewis stuff. It was just amazing. Most people recognized him. Some people just thought I'd hired a madman. But that was a lot of fun. So yeah, those are just a few brief stories. I've got more, man. I could talk about the time I met Clip from AC/DC when he showed up at one of my shows. And then a week later, I ended up doing work in his house, cleaning his dryer vents. That was pretty cool. Or I could talk about, any number of people, like the drummer for Stone Temple Pilots, Eric, man. He was like one of the coolest guys I've ever met, but not a big enough star to be on this episode. Sorry, Eric, you're great. Anyway, guys, I spoke about it briefly at the beginning, and that is my membership program. I've got like 37, 38 members. I want to get 100 members to join the Lade Brigade, to join the Prog Corner membership crew. Anyway, do it if you can. If not, that's fine, whatever. But, you can still subscribe to the channel. You can still hit the like button and the notification bell. You can do all that lame stuff if you want to. Sunday on the channel, I got Matthew from Versa. We're going to be talking about the brand new Versa album, Voyage, A Destination Part 2. We might listen to a little bit of it. I don't know what we're going to do yet. We're just going to freeform it and talk about a fantastic band that you probably aren't paying attention to, that you really need to. And then finally, next week, I think I'm going to be reviewing the new Frost album, Life in the Wires. It's absolutely phenomenal. Just such a great achievement from Jem and John and, the whole gang. Craig Blundell's back in the band, so it's awesome. Anyway, guys, that was just a little bit of fun talking about, some of the people that I've met in my crazy life, especially when I worked retail in Miami, man. You meet so many people. The list of people I've met, it's just insane, but those are the ones that kind of stuck out in my head, either for a good reason or a bad reason. Anyway, fools, I love you guys. Peace in the Middle East, free Tibet, free the Ukraine, free your mind, free Willie, free everybody, free everything. I don't really care. And God save the king, that I do care about. Save King Chucky, all that boys got that cancer. Bring him to America, I say, oh yeah, bring that boy right here. We got them good doctors. We can take good care of them, and really good pastors. Oh yeah, the thoughts and prayers for the king. We're going to make him better. We're going to do prayers and spells and incantations. Oh boy, we're going to drink poison, but at the end of the day, only one thing going to get us right. Hey, Billy Bob, Bust out them snakes. Oh no, we're gonna dance with snakes. Oh yeah, the snake dance is gonna heal. Oh yeah, nothing's gonna get us because we got the armor of God. Oh yeah, these snakes can't do us any damage at all. Get away from me. I'll see you guys next week, Sunday. Versa. It's gonna be awesome. Peace.